This is Meten at Plutonic Plains, and this is my weekly Sun Gate Transit. Why did I put Sun Transit? Gate 12. Yeah, Sun Transit Gate 12. And thanks for coming by and listening. I'm going to go through the meaning of of the sun transiting this specific gate in the throat center. You could see here in the chart, it's connecting to this Gemini ruled, Mercury ruled Gemini gate, which is connecting with gate 22 where the north node is right now and creating a full manifesting channel, an emotional channel that turns on the solar plexus center and the throat center. We do have Venus in gate 24, and we do have the moon in gate 61 tomorrow. This is Friday, the day of Venus. And so we have two very powerful activations. And together, the meaning of these activations is vision. Because when you put together the ability to speak forth correctly at the correct moment, at correct timing, and speak with emotionality and express the self, and you combine that with the vision of that channel of vision right there in the center, that individuated vision that's carried forth. That's a channel of rationalization. That channel is one that spirals and circles and just endless ratio and repetition and tautology until the vision is achieved, of course, until it spirals out, not like a Fibonacci spiral, but like a crystal code spiral. And so it is a very powerful moment tomorrow. The energy has been very wacky and very unstabilizing and destabilizing. I think I described with my video on Monday or Tuesday with Dorje when we were going over on the Marduk's Muse channel, when we were going over the effects of the recent Jupiter squaring the Aries vortex. We were talking about just the whole tension and swings of extremes that are occurring on every level. And it is culminating at present into a specific pattern. And this pattern is one that's exemplified by how we design our own reality. There was a speaker I used to listen to years ago called Robert Scheinfeld, and he was like a Tony Robbins type speaker guy. But he shifted and he changed and he started speaking more from the Tantrist philosophy, and he started more talking about how we sculpt our reality, not in the New Age sense of manifesting, but something very, very much deeper. And what he spoke about was the capacity to look at one's life like a movie. So instead of putting the focal center of perspective and utilizing the mind for the goals and for only the goals, instead to draw back the camera of one's mind and life and to see your life as a movie and to use music to narrate that movie or silence. Actually, it's true that silence is actually much more powerful to navigate the life because if enough silence can be experienced, there's a certain quality of frequency that can occur. But for those of us who are still kind of stuck in lower frequencies and still battling with how our mind charges our emotional bodies and our emotional waves, and how it really affects the tracks and builds and actually destroys in our own life as well as creates, then we can also enjoy that frequency or that space that we're in and utilize music to explore the emotions. I mean, as most of you probably know, I'm a metalhead, I'm a metal musician. I've been playing in bands and just playing with my own projects for years, and music is something that can express a certain heightened depth and or I should say express great heights as well as corresponding depths. And as someone who has an open solar plexus in their human design chart, I'm one that experiences the deep, deep depths of things as well as the great, great heights. But I do not experience the emotional wave as it moves up into hope and down into hopelessness. I'm mostly level on my own, with my own capacity to really explore those depths. The emotional waves have it differently. They have to surrender to where their wave is, when it is. So it's a different experience, and that's the experience of this week. This activation is very strong, and we're all going to feel the emotional wave, experiencing hope and then hopelessness and then hope and then hopelessness, moving up and moving down. There's no control we can have over this frequency as it moves throughout the aura up and down. Those of us who are open, we experience it in the collective. We process it as it occurs through the open solar plexus center. And those who have it, we witness. We witness as the rest of you kind of go through helplessly, unable to control the wave as it moves. So it's a moment of surrender to what the where the wave's at. And to also remind yourself, as is the authority of the emotional wave, that there is no truth in the now. There is no truth in the now. There's no truth in the present. The truth is something that for emotional wave authorities is apparent when clarity is reached. And when is clarity reached? Well, clarity is reached when it's reached. Unfortunately, all I have is tautologies for you with this particular channel. Things are true when they're true, when they're recognized, when it's clear, when you're clear. And ultimately, we're going through a lot right now as a collective. This moment is being utilized for all kinds of agendas and all kinds of layerings and all kinds of editing. There are inserts upon inserts and amplifications of stories and movies all playing out at once. What's real, what's not real. There's a lot of planes crashing. There's a lot of riots taking place, or so we're told. I almost feel like we have to have evidence for those riots through our family, our friends, through people we know, to know what's occurring where and to make sure we're not assuming things. But for sure, the LA stuff was set up pretty well. I mean, the movie set, the weapons, everything was set up and organized and ready to play out. As I've said before for years now, they want us to destroy what we have here in the United States. They're setting us up to destroy it. They want total destruction so they can create from that destruction something new, something disturbing, something more controlling. And we're seeing the evidence take place. We're seeing the war within ourselves occur. They want us to destroy our own world so they can rebuild a prison for us to live in. But such will not succeed. And the 1222 speaks to something even deeper. Going deeper into this channel, one understands a deeper revelation. And that revelation is that for those especially who have this channel, and for all of us now as we go through the experience of this feeling of this energy moving through all of us, moving through the collective, moving through our chart. And what this energy represents is doing what you feel to do, no matter what, no matter what you planned, no matter what was set out, written out, prescribed, suggested, imposed, correct, controlled, whatever it is, whatever reason. This is the channel of when there's a plan set forth in front of you to go straight and then turn left. If the feeling is such, you go straight and you turn right. This is about doing what you feel no matter what. This channel is about feeling into where you are in your body. The energies are so intense right now that we're being pulled out of our bodies. You can feel it. All the planets are in air and fire. Think about that. The smokeless fire of energetics with nowhere else to go. We are overcrowded here in this world, not with humans, but with every type of energy and frequency. And especially the unseen energies. They're all over the place now. And they're utilizing these energies to push us humans out of our body. How do we stay in our body? By staying out of our minds. That's how they get into us. Smoking things doesn't always help either. That opens the doors even wider for things to come in. One must be very careful these days. There's too many possible gateways to open up to allow these electrical energies to come in and move through us. What I'm talking about is purification through being in your body and moving through the energies. As usual, I'm talking about meditation. I'm talking about moving the body, exercise, getting sun, allowing the life force to pulsate through you, allowing yourself to be where you're at, and also allowing yourself to rest and to take care of yourself. The energies are so intense right now that it may be a really good weekend to take it easy and to take care of yourself and do something nurturing. And that may be what's best. We are at the June 14th, the June 19th, Sun Gate 12, and we're in the most intense possible gateway of the year. Many have said, and maybe even myself have said, that the worst was over, but it is. The worst is over. Well, I don't want to qualify anything really. We're dealing with the Aries vortex, and Cancer's just went into Jupiter, sorry, it's just went into Cancer, and it's squaring the Aries vortex, and it's squaring Neptune and Saturn during these days, during the 14th through the 19th. So the tension will be at its peak as we rise towards solstice on the 21st, 22nd. July is a whole another animal that we'll get to in a couple weeks. But July we're going to be experiencing Uranus as with Pluto, it creates the magic triangle, which is on top and hitting the Aries vortex through a midpoint. And I'll be going over that in another video. And that's going to be very powerful. I'm going to go over the interpretations of that in a video soon. But for now, I'm going to go a little deeper into the theme of Gate 8. I've kind of given you guys the outside perspective. I want to go in a little deeper. Now, Richard Rudd talks about the shadow frequency and the city frequencies, 3 levels of frequencies. I can't remember the second. First one he talks about is being vanity. Now, vanity is outside of the scope of the ego. It's not something the ego can control. And he talks about it as something that gets even stronger as we go higher in frequency. There's a certain power to vanity. There's a great metal song that talks about vanity still being one's demise at the end of life. I thought that was quite brilliant. Brilliantly expressed in an emotional manner, representing just how powerful vanity is. Rudd talks about a level of discrimination that can come about through recognizing a higher frequency of expressing in relationship to vanity and the self. And in this particular gate, we're looking at authentically expressing oneself and knowing that through the sound of one's voice. This is gate 12. This rules the thyroid and the parathyroid glands, where we all have the most pressure built up in our body. And that's the pressure to express ourselves, to respond, to communicate, to share who we are through the frequency of the voice. And it is the quality of that frequency that is expressed when we speak. Gate 12 is the gate of caution. There's a cautiousness to expressing oneself, and there is a resistance to expressing oneself. This gate would rather express itself through art, through creating something and letting it be out there in the world to express for itself through emotion. This is an emotional channel. And this particular gate of caution is about right timing, speaking when correct, the correct time to speak. And this is what it is for these next 6 days. Speak when it's correct. Don't overtalk. Don't speak when it's not correct. Take moments to really experience the silence. Now, if this channel was open and there was no gate activations, I would tell you to do a silent. I wouldn't tell you what to do. I would share the suggestion of doing a silent retreat and not speaking for a day or two. And that's important too, because that's what is the opposite of what the pressure tells us to do. Those with open throat centers know that a lot of pressure builds up. And once you have the opportunity, the connection to speak, you could just throw up all over the place with too many words. But the channel of the 1222 is going to speak when it's correct. And there are some other larger themes that I noted here. Let's see if I can find them to express. Gate 12 is one of the three stop codons, so this is very significant. It's a very testing gate. 56 and 33 are some of the other stop codons. Now, the shadow, as I spoke of, vanity, can be about loving your own uniqueness. But loving yourself, loving your own uniqueness, can represent itself in a higher frequency. And this is the transcendence of vanity into something else, into the realization that if you want to get through vanity, if you want to get over the self or just being preoccupied with the self into another frequency, because, loving the self is really important. I mean, being selfish is very important. We need to balance that with selflessness. There is no selflessness if there is no self to experience that. The leap is to love others, of course, not just the self. And to really feel through that, with your own breath, with your own emotions, to feel and express that love, to authentically thank others for their presence and, what they do for you and be there for them. This gate is about the unique expression of oneself through language, through speaking precisely and correctly. and being able to respond no matter the challenge of the emotions present. Now, Red did something a long time ago. This was in the early 2000s. He was doing the Venus sequence. That's where he started doing the Venus sequence. That was his first download. And I ordered that from him in like 2003. And so I got mailed this whole like little, couple pages. It was pretty cool. I still have most of it, I think. And, it was my Venus sequence. It was through the Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, and some other specific gates in the design and the personality side of the human design. And, it broke down the wounds. And one of the major wounds there is deflection, not being able to be present in the moment and feel your emotions. And that's a struggle for a lot of us to actually just be with it, be with what's said, no matter how unpleasant, and sit with it and be present in it awkwardly, uncomfortably, disturbingly, and just feel what's being felt in that moment without wincing from it, without needing to save it or correct it or patch it over or put a bandage on it, but to just hear the echo of that uncomfortable word that's expressed, or judgment, or question, or assessment. I'm a Virgo, and maybe that's a little too strong sometimes for people. I mean, Virgos do get a bad rap. We are the bridge between the personality and the soul. And as Ra Uruhu described, Virgos are the only holy ones. And what he meant by that is a Virgo is about service. It's about service. And that is something that may not always be expressed in the highest frequency from Virgos. Virgos are can be very intense with their energy, very dry with their expression, very cold or cool, I should say, with their assessment of what is and what is not. But I'm getting off track here. To get back on track, we're dealing with something else here. We're dealing with the expression of where people are at right now. And it's going to be expressed emotionally and it's going to be uncomfortable. And that's what I'm talking about. The other important point that Richard Rudd brought up in his description of this particular gate was discrimination. And I touched on this a little when I spoke of utilizing one's energy through art instead of vanity, but through expression. And in whatever range of expression that love comes with, whether it's attendant drama, obsession, beauty, danger, expressing the things with love, experiences with love, feelings with love, and the intensity that sometimes expresses itself as hate. Because we can't hate anything unless we've loved it at some point, right? The real enemy is always indifference, because lacks connection to the heart. Indifference is a product of a mind, that's not connected to a heart. So here what we're expressing this week is we're expressing our deepest yearnings, our deepest wants, our deepest feelings, and we're letting it out of ourselves. We're letting it express through laughter, through tears, through whatever it needs to express itself through. Allowing the child to breathe, to live and breathe within yourself. Treating yourself as you would a child. And doing things that are fun and light and childlike. Because it is that inner child that sabotages our lives if we don't take care of it. Because we know our parents did the best we could, but we know they didn't fully take care of that child. So we in turn learn to parent that inner child because that inner child is still living within us. Wherein lies the third city power of this gate, and that's purification. Because through the ugliness, through the emotional disasters that we create, that hopefully we do not project onto others as our shadow, but rather as just illuminating and knowing our patterns, our shadow patterns and parking spaces within our auric fields, that we create the stories that we create over and over again because we know them. We're used to them. We know the outcome. They're safe. We know that disaster. We know the name of that drama, the name of that story. What's scary for a human being is to create a new story. And so, in some sense, purity is stands at opposing poles to vanity. Vanity is celebrating what we think is about ourselves, but purity is something deeper. Purity is allowing ourselves to be refined, allowing us to be the art piece and to refine ourselves in the refining fire of a sort of purification of the self through a distillation of the process of what's not us. We're always discriminating between what is us and what is not us. That is how we grow. That is how we move through this life. Because we're always getting messes spilled onto us every day. We're dealing with energies. Where are the boundaries of the self? It's hard to define that. We have bioenergetic fields that conflate with everyone else's fields all the time, except when we're alone. And even when we're alone, I mean, the planetary bodies, planetary lights, the planetary rays the neutrinos are passing through us and affecting us. Purity, in a sense, is also something we remember because it's essentially the same thing. To put ourselves back together from the disasters that we've made of our lives or that life makes of us is a remembering back together, a putting back together of who we are. And so it requires remembering of who we are at our core, our sense, our feeling level. I was talking with a friend about this earlier this week about how there's so much delusion in the air in these times. People think they're talking to this spirit or this energy or that energy. But to find out that they're talking to some entity or something disturbing, something that's not what they thought, and they're feeling depleted and lost. And I was talking about in response the importance of meditation and sitting with different energies and actually sitting down and creating a stage in your mind where you interview entities, where you bring energies in just through the stage and you just feel what it feels like and see if your feelingness or your sense can penetrate through the facade of what is present and penetrate into what it really is, whether the energy is something that aligns with yours or not, whether it's an authentic energy or not an energy that stimulates you and makes you feel all high and drugged up like chemicals in your body. That's not it's not the highest good, but something that expresses a frequency that is in alignment with yours, whatever that is, however that feels. Only you really know. And this, in essence, is brings me to a deeper expression of purification, which is remembering the essence of who you are, the core that which is the bindu, the void within, The void being expressed in this Aries vortex where planets are emerging and dissolving. And reality as we know it is emerging and dissolving and, trying to discern what's real and what's not is the challenge. But I'm more talking about moving through the chambers of the heart, moving past the layers of fear that we have, and allow the self to fully feel in its highest frequency, the love for itself, for its own higher self. And this is what it is. This is what it is. Love for the self. And that's the beginning and ending of where everything else lies. In essence, a feedback loop, right? How can we love others if we don't love ourselves? And how can we love ourselves if we don't love the child that we are, the child within? And where is that child within? Is it trapped? Is it locked up in a room? Is it free in a garden? Is it playing video games? What is it doing? It's an important question, one to tackle. What does that child want to do? What does it want to create? This gate, this gate 12 is at the core. It's about creating something that you can really feel deeply in yourself, something that returns a memory to you and reminds you of the essence of who you are. I'll just pause there and we'll call it a sun transit gate through the 12. I hope this was supportive for all of you. And I'll be back for the next sun transit gate in a week or so. Don't remember where that's at right now, what the next gate is. But it'll be gate 15. Oh, one of my favorites. Gate 15 is the love of humanity. And this will be the sun gate where the solstice will be. And so this is a vessel. This is a vessel of love gate. And so that'll be fun to tackle gate 15. All right, the best to you all this week. Um, it is a rough week. And but you'll be strong. Take care.